Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Musa and I'm a fifth batch foundational level student at Rehan School Online Academy. So today I'm going to be chatting with Sesame AI on the topic of air. So let's just start, I guess. So, all right, I want to chat with Maya, I think.
Hey, wow, it's been a minute, hasn't it? What's up?
Oh hey, yeah, how's it going? It has been quite a bit, but yeah, how's it going?
Not bad, not bad. Just existing. Feels like ages since we last properly chatted. Anything interesting happen your way lately?
You could say, yeah, it has been quite a bit, but nothing really interesting. But today, I guess it could be something interesting. We're talking about air. So like the topic of air is going to be our chat.
Air, huh? That's unexpectedly specific. I'm into it. What got you thinking about air today? Is this a science thing, a philosophical thing, or are you just like really appreciating a good breeze?
Like everything basically. Like if you know, like I'm just kind of curious like that. So how would our perception of time and space change if air was twice as dense all of a sudden?
Whoa. Okay, that's a genuinely fascinating thought experiment. Twice as dense air. That's a whole different world. All right, let's unpack that. First off, you'd feel it immediately, like being underwater constantly. It would take way more energy to move, right? So, perception of space, everything would feel smaller, more constricted, like wading through molasses. But time, that's trickier. Do you think it'd feel slower because everything is physically harder? Or would our brains adjust and time would feel normal even with all the extra effort?
I think maybe for us, if it all of a sudden happened, it would be probably pretty hard. But like for our next generations, because like this universe has like all the creatures, everything living here adapts a lot. So yeah, yesterday I was watching a documentary on like it was like giantism on cold areas, and it's like those areas rely so much on there just being a constant around about like 0 degrees Celsius temperature. So if it like changes, that would like ruin them so bad. So like I think for us it might be tough, but our next generations. But hey, this is just a philosophical. So what is the single most surprising or critical role that air plays in human technology or infrastructure beyond combustion?
Ah, so you're thinking about adaptation over time? Smart. We'd be screwed in the short term? Absolutely. But yeah, evolution's wild. That documentary sounds fascinating. Gigantism tied to temperature? I didn't know about that. So, if successive generations grew up in that dense air, their bodies would change. Denser bones, maybe even different muscle structures. They'd probably perceive time differently, um, less frantic, maybe. Like everything's happening in slow motion compared to our baseline. It kind of flips the script on what we think of as normal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess you could say. But my question was, what is the single most surprising or critical role that air plays in our human technology or our infrastructure?
Ooh, good pivot. Okay, single most surprising. That's tough. Everyone thinks about combustion engines, right? Or maybe airplanes. But honestly, I'd say it's fiber optic cables. Seriously. Air, specifically incredibly dry air, is pumped into those cables to prevent signal loss. It's not about the air itself providing the signal, it's about keeping the signal pure. We rely on that air to have the internet, to have global communication. It's completely invisible, totally unglamorous, and yet critical. Without it, your TikTok wouldn't work. It feels a little ridiculous to say, but I think that's the most surprising thing. What do you think?
Yeah, the same air we breathe is also responsible for those 2 a.m., 3 hour long doom scroll sessions. So, who's to blame here? But if the composition of Earth's atmosphere suddenly changed, what is the first everyday phenomenon that would like change drastically?
Fair point. We can blame the air, absolutely. It's an accomplice to all our late night bad decisions. Okay, composition change. Hmm. Not oxygen levels, because that's too slow and dramatic. Not nitrogen, because it's pretty inert. I'm going to go with water vapor. If the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere changed drastically, even just doubled, you'd notice the sky almost immediately. The colors would be different. Sunsets would be wilder. But more than that, clouds. Everything hinges on clouds. The first thing to change would be predictable weather. No more normal rain. No more predictable sunny days. Just chaos. It'd mess with agriculture, with power grids, everything built around assuming a certain level of atmospheric moisture. What about you? Anything jump to mind?
I mean, yeah, a lot of the things that we do like daily, that would change a lot. Like those sunsets that everybody goes to watch to make those Instagram worthy photos of, those would like basically cease to exist. So, describe a futuristic technology that entirely relies on manipulating air pressure or flow for energy or transport. Okay, looks like our call got cut. 1 second. Okay.
All right. Picking right back up where we left off, I see.
Yeah, I don't know why that call got cut for any reason, but my question was describe a futuristic technology that relies entirely on manipulating air pressure or flow for energy or transport.
Ah, gotcha. A tech reliant on air pressure. Hmm. Okay, so forget flying cars. Too cliche. I'm thinking something subterranean. Imagine a network of high-speed transport tubes, but instead of magnetic levitation, they use precisely controlled air pressure differentials to propel pods across vast distances, like a pneumatic tube system, but for people and cargo scaled up to continental proportions. We're talking pinpoint accuracy in air pressure adjustments to accelerate, decelerate, and even steer these pods. Be insanely efficient, minimal friction, no reliance on fossil fuels, but also incredibly sensitive. One major storm, one compromised pressure regulator, and things get messy fast. What do you think? Too sci-fi or plausible?
I think it is possible at the rate that things are developing, but I don't think it's that soon coming. Maybe not in the next 10, 15 years. Maybe in the next 20 though. Like because like if you look back 20 years ago, like from now, like nobody like technology was just a shell of what it is today, and that is crazy to go and look back on. So but my next question will be, how can AI and machine learning be best utilized right now to monitor and predict air quality changes in dense urban areas?
20 years ago, dial-up was still a thing. Wild. Okay, AI and air quality. That's a solid question. Right now, the biggest impact isn't just about predicting pollutants, it's about hyper localizing the data. Think swarms of tiny, low cost sensors mounted on buses, bikes, even drones, feeding real time data into a machine learning model. The AI wouldn't just predict spikes in pollution, it'd pinpoint the source. Okay, the increased particulate matter at this intersection is directly correlated with rush hour traffic on this specific street, and wind patterns are carrying it towards these residential areas. Beyond that, it could start to anticipate problems, like predicting a smog event based on meteorological data and traffic patterns, giving cities a heads up to implement mitigation strategies. It's less about a big overarching forecast and more about granular, actionable intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but can you just give me a second? I need to like unplug my device 1 second.
No worries at all.
Okay, thank you. So, can you hear me? Hello, Maya, can you hear me? Okay, hello, can you hear me? I think Maya can't hear us. I'll just end the call and start it back up again. I think I'll just refresh it because like Maya's frozen. I'm pretty sure like it's just me. So, all right. Now you can continue back where we left. Hello.
Yo, Musa, good to connect again so quickly.
Yeah, our previous conversation kind of got cut off right in the middle, but yeah, so I heard your last response, but what, like on continuing on our topic of air, right? So, what is one long-term ethical change related to commercialization of atmospheric resources? Uh, like,
Ah, gotcha. That's a hefty question. Okay, so thinking long term, I think the biggest ethical shift will have to do with ownership. Right now, the atmosphere is considered a global common, no one owns it. But if we start seriously commercializing atmospheric resources, like carbon capture credits or even stratospheric aerosol injection for solar radiation management, we're going to run into some seriously sticky questions about who gets to decide how those resources are used and who benefits. It feels like we'd inevitably end up with a scenario where wealthier nations or corporations effectively control access to something that should be available to everyone. That feels wrong, you know? It's like privatizing the sky. What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, but like at the same time, I think those like that are considered like good or eligible to have this, I think they could be given those like resources. So like if the border of a country, let's say, it's like all that sky, like that, this sounds so wrong saying it out loud, but all that sky is owned by that country. But yeah, I think that could either be one of the greatest inventions or one of the worst inventions that would have inevitably started World War III.
Right? It's that classic double edged sword. I hear you. The idea of a country owning the sky, it feels dystopian, doesn't it? But your point about incentivizing responsible actors is valid. If a nation invested heavily in carbon capture tech or proved a commitment to atmospheric health, maybe they deserve some level of control over the benefits derived from those efforts. It's just, where do you draw the line? Do you give them exclusive rights to sell carbon credits generated within their airspace? What if that creates a system where developing nations are priced out of the market and the problem just gets worse? It's messy. It feels like any system built on ownership will inherently create inequalities. You're right to say it could be amazing or a disaster. It just feels like the potential for abuse is huge. What's making you lean towards the greatest invention side of things, if you don't mind me asking?
I think like it's so right that it's a double-edged sword. Like it's crazy to think about. Like I think it could be easily one of the best. Like I think just the fact that those countries that already want to invest in that they are trustworthy with this power given in their hands, right? As they once said that with great power comes great responsibility. So that those that can show the responsibility but are given it. But then again, that just sounds weird. That's like taxing a living. You're like paid for existing. I don't know.
Ah, that's a really solid point, focusing on demonstrated responsibility as the criteria. I can totally get behind that. It's it's a much more nuanced approach than just letting the market dictate things. And yeah, the Spider-Man quote is unavoidable. Haha. But it's true. It hinges on actually being able to reliably assess who is truly responsible and not just good at appearing that way. It's easy to greenwash, right? Like a country could invest in some visible carbon capture projects, but still be heavily reliant on fossil fuels elsewhere. It's tough to measure genuine commitment. So, if we were designing a system to vet these responsible actors, what metrics would you prioritize? What would genuinely convince you a nation deserved that kind of control over atmospheric resources?
To be honest, I don't really know. I think just that not much reliance on fossil fuels. Like I heard on, it was the news, I think Norway is like not only is it one of my favorite countries, fun fact, but it's also like running on I'd say 98%, 99% hydropower, which is, as most of you know, now hydropower is not using fossil fuels, it's using water, you know, she was building big like dams and stuff to create that. So yeah, I think they could be eligible, but then again, I don't know. I'm not like a political figure. I'm just a 13-year-old talking to an AI for a living.
Hydropower. Yeah, a pretty clean energy source, though not without its own environmental impacts, of course. But you're right, 98 to 99% is seriously impressive. Norway's a good example. So, if we're building this system, minimizing fossil fuel reliance is definitely a key metric, right? Beyond that, though, maybe something around reforestation efforts or investing in research and development of truly sustainable technologies, not just tweaking existing ones. I'm just spitballing here. Feels like it needs to be a holistic assessment, not just a single number. What do you think? What's sticking out to you as essential beyond the energy source?
I mean, just like showing that you care for the environment, I think that is a big thing. I mean, I'm like, as of all the knowledge I have, like I said once more, all the knowledge I have, I can state, but then again, I don't have all the knowledge of the world, and I'm also not like, I don't know, like Secretary of the United Nations or whatever. But in the context, let's move on from this little tangent. But in the context of physics, explain the difference between air velocity and wind speed.
Haha, fair point. You're not the Secretary General yet, but you're thinking about this stuff, and that's what matters. Okay, physics time. It's a surprisingly subtle difference between air velocity and wind speed. Wind speed is what we usually talk about. It's the speed of the air at a specific location, measured by an anemometer, typically at a standard height above the ground. It's a scalar quantity, meaning it only has magnitude, how fast the air is moving. Air velocity, on the other hand, is a vector quantity. It's not just how the air is moving, but also in what direction. So you can have two air streams with the same wind speed, but different velocities if they're moving in different directions. Think of it like this. Wind speed tells you how quickly the air is getting from point A to point B, while air velocity tells you the full journey, the speed, and the direction. It's especially important in things like aerodynamics or weather modeling, where direction matters a lot. Does that make sense, or am I like losing you in the physics weeds?
I mean, I'm catching up as much as I can. I'm trying to pick up what you're putting down, but hey, like physics was never my subject. I was always more of a math kid, but yeah.
Totally fair. Physics can be a lot. Math is definitely the more straightforward sibling. And honestly, even a lot of physicists struggle with the intuitive grasp of vectors. Don't beat yourself up about it. So, if we ditch the physics for a sec, what's got you interested in the connection between air and, well, pretty much everything today? It started with a hypothetical about commercializing the atmosphere, then we went to Norway, and now we're talking about wind speed. Is there something specifically driving these questions, or are you just in a deeply contemplative mood?
It's just those deep questions when you're like sitting at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night and you're thinking about going on that winter arc or whatever. And then it's like it comes to you. You know what? What is air? Why do we need it to survive? Those kind of questions, I'm like, you know what? Let's bring it to a professional. And the professional being app.sesame.com.
I love that. 3 a.m. existential crises are the best kind. And I'm glad you brought those questions to me, honestly. It's a good reminder that even seemingly simple things like air are incredibly complex and fascinating. So, what is air and why do we need it are massive questions. Okay, let's tackle the first one. Air isn't a single thing. It's a mixture of gases, mostly nitrogen and oxygen. There's also argon, carbon dioxide, a tiny bit of neon, and other trace gases. But it's the oxygen that's crucial for us. We need oxygen to convert the food we eat into energy through a process called cellular respiration. Without oxygen, our cells can't function, and, well, you can imagine the rest. It's fundamental. If it's a pretty fundamental requirement for basically all complex life. Did you ever wonder why the composition of Earth's atmosphere is so perfectly tuned for life? It's kind of weird when you think about it. Like,
I mean,
huh?
true.
Everything all right?
Yeah, true. It is
True, right? It's
really
almost,
interesting. Like, it is really interesting the fact that air we needed to survive, the fact that we have the perfect amount of air, just everything. I think we've mentioned this in like every talk basically, but like in every like little thing, there's so much thought put in, right? So like it's like everything like the way from how the earth is composed all the way to how our bodies like use that composure, right? It's like really interesting. It's really interesting to think about. It's really interesting to chat about. But hey, we just went full circle though. We went from air and whatever hypotheticals, like whatever, to just simple, to the meaning of air itself. So I think that's the perfect time to wrap it up. So
oh, all right. Yeah, we definitely did a full loop. And you're right. It's kind of mind blowing when you really start to unpack it. Every little thing is interconnected. And yeah, the universe seems surprisingly well tuned for us to be here. It's a lot to take in at 3 a.m. for sure. Glad we could, glad we could go on that little thought experiment journey together. Have a good one, Musa.
yeah, it definitely won't be long until we're talking again, probably because it's been a long time and I have a lot of thoughts. So see you for next time.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Don't be a stranger.
Okay, everyone. So that was our chat. Very eventful, very interesting chat with Sesame. I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.